This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and are the San Francisco 49ers going to trade Brandon Aiyuk this offseason? Will he ever come back this season? What about Mac Jones? Having a great 2025, could he be playing elsewhere in 2026? And the Niners sign a new kicker today, that being Matt Gay, to replace Eddy Pineiro. What is he? How has he performed, and what should we expect on Monday when San Francisco plays the Carolina Panthers? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave us that 5-star audio podcast review, and let's dive into the futures of Brandon Aiyuk and Mac McCorkle-Jones, because this is a doozy, and it all comes from one of our favorites, Tim Kawakami of the San Francisco Standard. Many of you out there have been asking, when will Brandon Aiyuk return in 2025, if at all? And if he does return, will the 49ers trade him away at the end of the season? Tim Kawakami came in hot with those question and answers, but I want to talk about Mac Jones first, because a lot of fans, and I mean a lot of fans, are riding in the ride the hot hand department today. Even after Brock Purdy's tremendous comeback against the Cardinals last Sunday, some fans are still sticking it out with Mac Jones, and to each their own, whatever. As long as you win, that's all we care about. But because of how good Mac Jones has performed this season, a lot of questions have alluded to maybe San Francisco trading him away and maximizing his value when it's at its peak. They have him on a 2-year contract, so he's signed through 2026. That means San Francisco could, one, retain him throughout next year and have him be Brock Purdy's backup once again, or trade him next offseason, hoping to maybe get a second-round draft pick or a high-end third-round draft pick. But really, should they trade him? That is the big question for today, and I think Tim Kawakami has a pretty interesting answer if you ask me. Okay, diving into Tim's article here via the San Francisco Standard, he was asked point blank, should the Niners trade Mac Jones if they get good value, for example, a high third rounder? Tim wrote here, you'd get a quote-unquote yes from me on trading Mac Jones. I've speculated for a while that even though he signed a 2-year deal, the 49ers last offseason, there might be a tactic agreement that the San Francisco 49ers will try to do right by him next offseason after he played so well replacing Brock Purdy for his 8 games this season. Now, that I could see taking place. I'm sure Mac Jones and his agent, whoever it may be, they probably sat back and said, hey, look, Mac, it's best for you to not be long in San Francisco for the long haul. Be like Sam Darnold, be like Baker Mayfield in previous years. Go to the Rams, go to the Niners, kind of reshape your career, then get big money, or just a new opportunity elsewhere by the end of your contract. And I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case for San Francisco, albeit I'd push back and say Mac Jones had no leverage to request or ask for San Francisco's brass to say, hey, give me a 2-year deal and trade me after the second or after the first season. He had no leverage. He was terrible in New England. He was bad in Jacksonville. What's the leverage there? He was a guy that wasn't going to play for a starting job. Thus, back up Brock Purdy and see where year 2 leads you when you sign your contract. That said, they also, Tim also says this: it'd be quite the luxury for the Niners to have 2 starting-level quarterbacks in 2026, but with the league-wide shortage at this position, San Francisco would be best served to trade Jones to the highest bidder, which would almost certainly be one that would give him every shot of the starting spot. Also, I don't think Kyle would be lacking for options if he needs a new veteran quarterback too, after revitalizing Sam Darnold and Mac Jones' careers in that spot. Zach Wilson, anybody. Now, I'm not one who has kind of dove headfirst into the backup quarterback for next year, because why would you? We are in week number 12 of the NFL season now, fighting for a playoff spot. But the question is, should San Francisco trade away Mac Jones? Tim Kawakami believes that is the case. Now, I would push back and say, depending on what you can get for Mac Jones, you just saw Mac Jones save your season. You just saw Mac Jones, albeit play a much restricted form of the offense. He beat the Rams. He helped you beat the Giants. He got you to a place where you can be, 6-4 awaiting Brock Purdy's return. Now you're 7-4 and you're in a really good spot for a playoff run in the second half of the year because of how good Mac Jones played. I could almost argue Mac Jones is more valuable to San Francisco than maybe any other team in the NFL right now. Maybe that changes once the offseason comes. The quarterback class in next year's draft is said to be not very good. Maybe 1 first-round draft pick if you're lucky, thus making Mac Jones a little more valuable than he would be in most seasons, so they have that on their side. However, Brock Purdy's had a torn UCL. He's had a messed up shoulder last season. He has a toe injury this season, which he's played 1 game. They may need Mac Jones again. I hope not, but they might. Why, if you're San Francisco, would you be open to the idea at maybe downgrading from your backup quarterback, which I get it, it's backup quarterback, whatever, but you just saw how valuable he can be for you. At the worst, if you sign him and he stays on your roster through next season, maybe a compensation pick comes your way. If it's a 4th-round draft pick or a 5th-round draft pick, who knows, right? Who knows? Now, I do think there is something to the idea of trading Mac Jones at his highest value, because we know San Francisco is currently in their kind of retooling season while still trying to compete, right? But with the understanding of in 2026 and 27, they may want to spend some money. Now, if you do that and you keep Mac Jones and say he doesn't play much next year, but signs for a nice chunk of change, when, I don't know, let's say it's Minnesota, right? Let's say it's the Falcons in 2 years in 2027. If you're the 49ers and now you're wanting to go all in, you don't get anything in return from Mac Jones because you've likely surpassed his value, giving it to somebody else in free agency. Now, you can draft a quarterback. I think many folks are forgetting Curtis Rourke's on the roster. They like him. I think if Curtis Rourke wasn't injured coming into the draft, he may have been a 5th-round draft pick, which really is not a bad place to find backup quarterbacks. I also think you have options, let's say, like Davis Mills. Maybe you want to make a trade for Spencer Rattler from the Saints, or maybe it's a free guy like Zach Wilson when it's all said and done. San Francisco will have some options. Now, I think the Niners also believe Kyle Shanahan, as they should believe this, can get anything out of any quarterback in that room, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, C.J. Beathard, Brian Hoyer for 1 game against the Rams in 2017. He somehow can find a way to simplify things for the quarterback, getting guys open. And I do believe that if San Francisco, let's say, gets another receiver in the room, we'll get to that later, but it's certainly an option coming into next year's draft. Maybe they don't really need to have a player like Mac Jones on your roster, and I think many people out there would say, Mac Jones on a 2-year deal is better than reaching for a quarterback in the 1st round. You have teams like the Vikings who J.J. McCarthy really doesn't look like the guy. Now, you give him some time. He hasn't played too much football just yet in his young career, but still, there are some questions in place. Michael Penix tore his ACL again. Kirk Cousins, I don't think he's the answer. He's almost 40 years old. Mac Jones could be in Atlanta next year with Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich and company. Then you start kind of trekking down. The Jets may want a quarterback. Is Tua going to be in place in 2026, and for how long? Maybe the Dolphins want a quarterback. I'm just spitballing there, but I think a lot of things are on the option or on the table for a lot of teams, and Mac Jones will probably be the most valued backup quarterback potentially on the market in 2026. That said, we have a great question here from Strawberry in the YouTube chat, and they say, 1 year of Mac Jones or 4 years of a cost-controlled rookie. And that goes both ways. If you're San Francisco, you have 3 more years of roster control of Curtis Rourke, or you can sign somebody for relatively cheap in free agency and hope it works out, or draft another quarterback in this year's or next year's draft class, And if you're an opposing team, I almost think it's the inverse. I'd rather have Mac Jones for a year or two and kind of bridge us into the next guy, right? Like, for example, let's look at teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, for example. They've been doing the bridge quarterback by year thing each and every year. You don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't want Mac Jones over broken down and old Aaron Rodgers? You don't think they wouldn't want Mac Jones over Mason Rudolph, who right now may be the one leading them to a playoff run if everything goes as it currently is standing? I don't think so. If you're Mike Tomlin, you're saying, hey, I'm tired of being 9-8. Let me be 10-7 with Mac Jones in the AFC North. Joe Burrow's health is always a big question mark. The Browns are a perennial stinker. And the Ravens have Lamar Jackson, who are probably going to run the division for the next decade plus if he continues to play at an MVP level. If I'm Pittsburgh, give me Mac Jones. If I'm the Jets, give me Mac Jones. I would not go all in on a young quarterback this year in the first round, which again makes Mac Jones more valuable to those out there. But the question is, what would have to entice San Francisco to part ways with somebody who just saved their season in 2025? Diving back into what Tim Kawakami says here, he says, if I was the 49ers in a Mac Jones market, I would try to get a day 2 pick, a third rounder that can be a second rounder if Jones starts most of his games in 2026 for his new team. Then I would aim to use the extra asset to move up in the first round to target a receiver or a defensive tackle in the middle of the first round. That's one way to get a star. Now, Tim's being aggressive, and I don't hate that. I think San Francisco, knowing this was to take a step back and still be competitive, retooling season, it does feel like they're going to shed some money again while also spending money in other places on the roster, whether it's the defensive line, the secondary, or the offensive line. Maybe they go and sign a receiver again. Who knows? They may lose 2 of those guys, as being Aiyuk and Jennings, during the offseason, so the need will be there. Maybe it's a running back again. Brian Robinson Jr. is a free agent. Grendo doesn't seem to be a guy. Yeah, Jordan James, but he isn't healthy rarely ever, so you never know. I just don't think a team is going to give you, especially a team picking high in the third round, unless maybe it's a team like the Jets, the Steelers, the Vikings maybe, teams that believe they're going to be in the playoff hunt, that don't want to break the bank, or teams like the Vikings who have kind of already bet big and traded up for a quarterback and don't want to risk it again. Kevin O'Connell is a good head coach. He isn't a great head coach, but he's a great passing game coordinator. And McCarthy cannot even hit a third down quick out for 6 yards near the sideline. Mac Jones can do that. That'd be a heck of a team. Now, I don't know if San Francisco would want to trade Mac Jones to an NFC competitor. They may not care that much, but maybe it's part of the ongoing conversation that may or may not be happening right now. Maybe the Raiders make sense, albeit trades to the Raiders and Niners don't really happen very often now. I think the Steelers, you can go to the AFC South maybe, but the Titans have their guy, the Texans have their guy, the Colts have their guy, and Jacksonville's kind of stuck with Trevor Lawrence, who I don't think is very good at all. You can go to the East, and it's the Bills have their guy, the Patriots have their guy, and the Dolphins, unfortunately, have hinged themselves to that sinking ship of Tua Tagovailoa. But I don't see a team trading away a conditional second-round draft pick for Mac Jones. Now, I think maybe a team like, again, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be open to that if they were to make the playoffs in 2026. So maybe Pittsburgh gives you a third-round draft pick, and then they say, hey, you'll get the pick in 2027, and if we go to the playoffs with Mac Jones, we'll give you a second rounder. At that time, it's like a late 50s pick. Maybe it's a late 40s pick, and it's no harm, no foul there. May even be in the 60s. Who knows? I just think you're not going to have teams wanting to give away valuable day 2 assets for a quarterback like Mac Jones. But if they're going to trade a guy like Mac Jones, this is the offseason to do it. His quarterback class is not very good. Nobody stands out. Maybe Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, but I don't know, man. He may go in the top 10 and just you leave teams kind of waiting for an answer. Like, if you think about it, the Raiders made the quarterback. Mac Jones fits with Minnesota, the Falcons. Like, there are so many teams, albeit that aren't going to be picking in the top 10. Like, the Falcons don't even have their own first-round draft pick this year. That could make Mac Jones more alluring to them if they don't want to keep Kirk Cousins past this season. Like, when you start kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of each team's needs and each team's injuries now, trading Mac Jones makes a heck of a lot of sense for the San Francisco 49ers. And I also love the idea of using the asset to go move up in the draft. You saw San Francisco in 2020 after they lost the Super Bowl, got really aggressive and had Kinlaw at 13 via trade down with the Buccaneers, but also trading back up to get Brandon Aiyuk. So it's not as if they hadn't done it before. And I think the Niners have been aggressive in the past. I think they realize that as soon as Fred Warner hits 30, as soon as Kittle hits the age of like 31, 32, as soon as Christian McCaffrey reaches 30, that's the time to ramp things up and be aggressive. I am kind of changing my tune on this year's or 2026's first-round draft pick being earmarked for a tackle. I don't think that's the case. I think San Francisco likes the way Trent Williams is playing. I think he's going to come back next year. And I think getting a defensive tackle to pair with Collins and West might be the best option, unless, a great safety falls down to like Caleb Downs from Ohio State or somebody else does. Or maybe you trade Aiyuk and go for Carnell Tate from Ohio State or get a Jeremiah Smith if you're lucky. But I think that trading Mac Jones is going to be a tough thing for me to kind of agree to because he's been so valuable this year. Laurie Matthews says here, I think having a good backup is extremely valuable because it is. It is. And I don't know if you're San Francisco, can you watch a year like 2022 where you lose 2 quarterbacks and you see Jimmy save Trey Lance this season, kind of keep you afloat, then he gets hurt and Brock Purdy comes in and saves the regime's life. And now you're seeing Mac Jones save Brock Purdy and the rest of San Francisco's season. Now, they've seen how valuable backup quarterbacks can be. I don't know if you're willing to take a step back from that. Now, again, compensation picks come into play and whatnot, but it's certainly a hard conversation to have, a tough one to have. But if you can trade away Mac Jones, and although you can't guarantee it, on paper, if you can have Brock Purdy be healthy for a large part of the season, and you can go get a defensive tackle or a wide receiver in the draft in the first round because of Mac Jones's value, you do it in a heartbeat. Like trading backup players behind franchise quarterbacks, you'll do it in a heartbeat. So maybe I'm talking myself into it, but it really depends on what you're going to get. I think anything less than a third-round draft pick, the answer is no. No, 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 no. You need at least a third-round draft pick for Mac Jones. Falcons make sense. Vikings make sense. And that's kind of it, unless, something catastrophic happens in Pittsburgh and Aaron Jones ain't the guy. But man, oh man, oh man. I think Mac is replaceable. Really, almost every quarterback in Kyle's system is pretty replaceable. Excuse me.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Courtside 25 to 26. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
But I think that, you just see so many quarterbacks go down now, and Brock has the injury history a little bit where it's like you want to have a pretty solid guy behind him. I mean, maybe it's Joe Flacco next year. Who knows? He's looking pretty good in Cincinnati still. But if you are giving up a third-round draft pick, you can have Mac Jones, to me. But he's really valuable, and I can see Kyle and John being like, hey, we're going to be fickle here. He's pretty cheap under contract. No reason to trade him if we're not wowed. So take a step back. Strawberry says here, so Brock and Jimmy did well because it's Kyle's system, but Mac is irreplaceable. What? No one's saying that. No one's saying that. No. Jimmy was replaceable. Mac is replaceable. I'm sure Brock, to a certain degree, is also replaceable. But no, if someone gives you a third-round draft pick for your backup quarterback, you do it. So like if somebody gave you a fifth-round draft pick for Jordan Mason, you do it. And San Francisco did it for all the right reasons. So I would trade Mac, but again, the right price has to be met. A third-round pick or more probably gets it done. Now, if you're like Tim, and maybe you can kind of finagle your way into a conditional second-round draft pick, then we're cooking with oil and we're having a good time. But I would assume no one's going to give you a second-round draft pick, but this is the year to do it, so we shall see. Before we get into Brandon Aiyuk's future, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. It is the best and freest way to help us out reach more eyes and ears. You can also use our promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com. It's on your screen right here, and I'm telling you via the words of my mouth, 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Okay, back to Tim Kawakami's article via the San Francisco Standard. And the next question he was asked was about Brandon Aiyuk. And the question was here on the screen. Why is there so much talk about the Niners trading Brandon Aiyuk? Has the relationship between him and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch become irreparable after all the extension nonsense, or is the contract just viewed as poor value? What a great question by the Funky Gibbon via Twitter. It's a great question. I think most Niner fans, and I've seen it on Twitter, on Instagram, where's Brandon Aiyuk? Why isn't he healthy? Why isn't he playing? Some fans are annoyed of the constant, we are not opening up his practice window. Some fans would say, call me when you do open the practice window. Most out there don't think you're going to see Brandon Aiyuk play this season. I still think there's hope Brandon Aiyuk returns. I think that the Niners may have learned something from the Dre Greenlaw injury last year. Torn Achilles, brought him back, I think, in like week 13, 15 against the Rams. I think it was week 13 or 15. Could be wrong there. But it didn't work out. Came back, played a half, had a flare-up, got hurt again, tried to go against the Dolphins and re-injure the thing. Now, it wasn't a tear, it wasn't super serious, but he took a long time to get back on the field this year with Denver. He's back out there now and playing good football, but still, I think they realized it don't really, rushing guys back benefits nobody. Doesn't benefit them. And if you want to trade the guy, he comes back and he gets hurt again, you're screwed. It doesn't benefit Aiyuk because then he's coming back and doesn't look that good. Maybe he can get demoralized, or who knows? Maybe he can get himself hurt again. I don't know. There's just so much that goes into not rushing guys back, and it feels like they kind of did that with Dre Greenlaw, or at least brought him back as soon as they could, rather than waiting for him to be fully healthy again and kind of going through the motions. But anyways, Kawakami says this on Aiyuk. It's always tricky to put a value on a player who has been hurt for so long, or to evaluate his current status on the team while he is hurt. But the Niners have been thinking of trading Aiyuk since he staged all those weird scenes during his negotiation last year. And it's not like he's gained value with them ever sense. And that right there, we have talked a long time, a lot of it being from Tim Kawakami, about the Niners front office, somebody, whether it's Jed, Parag, a random scout, or, someone's secretary in the room, they did not want to play or not want to pay Brandon Aiyuk. They didn't want to do it before he got paid. They wanted to trade him away during the draft, and San Francisco said, no. We all know now. Kyle ran to John's office and said, John, wait! Put the phone down with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do not trade him. He will finally play ball and sign with us. They put the phone down. Aiyuk comes back, and 7 weeks later, he's hurt and had no value last year for San Francisco. Now, I think as the year had gone on, you would have seen something more, but we didn't get to see that because of the injury, unfortunately. That said, Tim's right. San Francisco has at least been open to the idea of trading Brandon Aiyuk. Now, they fielded calls. They had negotiations with teams like the Broncos, like the Steelers, like the Patriots, like the Commanders, and those things never came to fruition for obvious reasons. Then they re-signed him, and they tabled the entire trade talk. That did not change the disgruntled front office executives, though, in San Francisco. They're still pissed. They're still mad. To some degree, I'd say, get over it. You signed the contract. You did this to yourself. San Francisco, I think, opened the door for Aiyuk's pettiness at times by not wanting to play ball. They waited during what was the most loaded wide receiver class in a long time and said, we'll sit on our hands and we'll wait and see what happens, knowing that all of the guys that are going to get paid in front of him are going to get paid more than him. So they screwed themselves, and now I think they're mad at themselves more than Aiyuk, knowing they gave him leverage, and front offices don't like to lose. It's why San Francisco didn't pay Ufunga, didn't pay Greenlaw, cut Floyd, cut Malik Collins. They don't like to lose negotiations. It's why they paid Brock Purdy $53 per year, which is kind of a fluff contract overall, not $55. They didn't reset the market for Brock Purdy because they wanted to win those deals. They did it for Warner, did it for Kittle, because they are elite level players that have already earned that money, but they were going to pay Brock that much. I guarantee you this offseason, whoever's a free agent on the team, they're going to be, fighting hand over fist of, every single penny of contracts. They took on the most dead cap money in football this year for that exact same reason. Ego. A lot of this, the Aiyuk stuff is ego. It's somebody in the front office, whether it's Jed, John, Parag, whoever it may be, they lost a deal, they got bested, and now they're angry. It's like the kid, when I was younger, my brother and I had the Xbox, right? And I was a little piece of crap at times, and I was like 6 years old, 8 years old, and if I didn't get my way, I'd go over there, I'd turn it off. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I was a jerk. I was a dumb little kid. But it was like throwing a tantrum. Somebody in that front office is throwing a tantrum. Now, I think Aiyuk getting hurt has justified that tantrum because, now he's hurt. We paid him all that money. We should get out of it as we can or as soon as we can. And I don't think they're necessarily wrong for the last part. I don't think that them wanting to get out of the Aiyuk contract is bad, knowing he's hurt, knowing that he's probably not gonna be the same. That's obviously speculation, and look, I hope Aiyuk comes back and is awesome, but the odds would say he's probably not gonna be the same Aiyuk. He'll maybe come back this year. I think he does, but it's going to take him a while to kind of refine himself and rekindle some Ladybug magic like he did in 2023 in the playoffs of that year. Now, we have also this quote by Tim Kawakami. In fact, if Aiyuk hadn't suffered the injury, he might have already been traded. Like, man, it's kind of damning that had Aiyuk not been hurt, even after signing the deal in the first place, during the offseason, they could have been, nope, we're done, get us out, we don't want this anymore, which is one terrible business. I have said for over a year now, when the rumors came out of, they feel bad, they want to go back on the deal, and someone's mad in the front office, it's like, then why'd you do bad business? Again, you're mad at yourself because y'all screwed up and that person benefited. That's bad business. Aiyuk made you look bad, your feelings have gotten hurt, and now here we are. Now he's hurt, and now you're like, oh, now's the perfect time to be like, told you so. It's bad business. Take your losses. It's awful business. Like, you don't do that. Now, had Aiyuk been healthy, I think we're having a different conversation because you don't trade that guy when he's healthy. Aiyuk's a darn good receiver. Aiyuk was like the best separator in football pre-injury. Imagine that guy with Ricky Pearsall and Chris McCaffrey and George Kittle and Brock Purdy again. This offense would be probably the best in football. Like, and that's crazy to say. Crazy to say. But Tim continues here. He has, and this is a big, big factor in why they can trade him during the offseason. Listen closely here. Aiyuk has a $27 million guaranteed salary next season that was built for a trade because it won't accelerate onto San Francisco's cap if he's traded and can be fit onto a new team's cap, pretty simple, with some alterations. The complication for the Niners is that unless Aiyuk comes back soon and plays great this season, he won't be worth very much on the trade market. Go back to the last paragraph. He has a $27 million guaranteed salary in 2026 that will not accelerate onto San Francisco's cap if he's traded. And if the other team wants to make a deal, then Aiyuk's contract is extremely tradable. And if you want to and don't believe Aiyuk can come back ever or will ever be the same, then you get out of that deal as soon as you can. If the Niners believe Aiyuk's money is going to essentially be dead money, you are best to get out of that deal. Now that brings us to now with Brandon Aiyuk and the next part of Kawakami's article. The complication for San Francisco is that unless Aiyuk comes back soon and plays great this season, he won't be worth very much on the trade market. I'll ask you at home, listening on the podcast, what do you think an opposing team would trade for right now injured, trying to come back Brandon Aiyuk? Maybe a 6th-round pick? Probably less than Deebo Samuel? Like, that's how serious of a drop it was. You had teams offering 2nd-round draft picks in 2024, and San Francisco said no. Now, I thought for right reasons. Aiyuk was playing great football and was looking like a 1st-round draft pick hit by far pre-injury. I don't think a team's offering more than a 6th-round draft pick for him, and maybe a conditional 5th if you're lucky. And don't forget, Deebo got a 5th-round draft pick from the Commanders because the contract wasn't great, and it's like, not the guy he once was. Aiyuk probably ain't the guy he once was, and the contract isn't great. And he's hurt. Deebo wasn't hurt. Now, they're different guys at different ages and whatnot, but a team's probably not going to give you more than a 6th-round draft pick, and at most a 5th if you're really lucky, and it'll probably be conditional. I think San Francisco, although you do not want to rush him back, I think San Francisco, from a front office standpoint, if they are hard set on getting out of the Aiyuk deal, we got to get out of it, it's such a bad deal, you got to get him on the field this year. You have to show to somebody else, hey, he can play football again. Because right now, like the entire fan base, we are waiting with bated breath of when's BA going to return. Every week, how's BA? How's BA? No one knows. You saw him early in the season during the preseason, running routes on the field and cutting and looking like he was on track to return somewhere around week 6. That didn't happen. That was under a year of the injury. Okay, that makes sense. How about week 10? You're on home against the Rams. It's going to be a big game. Natural grass the next few weeks. Where's BA? Not back. It's gotten to a point where his window isn't even open yet. Now, keep in mind, week 12, Like, there is time to go. The bye week is in 2 weeks, so maybe then it opens up. I don't know. But the Niners, if they want to trade Brandon Aiyuk and maximize whatever value there is, recoup a 4th-round pick maybe, they have to get Aiyuk back on the football field. Now, is that smart for him? I don't know. I don't know what Brandon Aiyuk's feelings are towards San Francisco. I don't know what Brandon Aiyuk and his family's thoughts are on John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan. They've seen these reports. They know San Francisco's pissed off. At least somebody in the room is pissed off at him. They know they hate the contract they signed with him. And I wouldn't have been shocked that had Brandon Aiyuk been healthy and played, let's say, better down the stretch last season, if he didn't ask for a trade himself, because things did not look good. Now, maybe things have cooled down. I know there was a report early in this year where he scrubbed the entire Instagram. That didn't happen. That wasn't true. And the story got changed. But with Brandon Aiyuk's sideline, all we are left to do is speculate as to when is he going to come back? How does he feel? And what we know is that somebody in the room is still pissed off. And if that person, whoever it may be, I have no idea who it is, if they want to recoup anything for Brandon Aiyuk, they have to get him back on the field, or you are not trading him. You are getting nothing in return. Nobody is trading for a guy in the offseason, whether it's a 4th-round pick or a 6th-round pick or a 5th-round pick, for a guy who hasn't played football in over a year. Now, it's different if Aiyuk comes back. If Aiyuk comes back, let's say after the bye week, or let's say week 16, and plays 16, 17, 18, and maybe a playoff game, it looks like, he may have a semblance of himself again. Maybe the routes get better week by week, and there's old BA. There are flashes somewhere in there. Like, take Hufanga, for example. Take Greenlaw, for example. Denver paid both those guys big money. And Hufanga played more of the year than Greenlaw did. Greenlaw was hurt. It's not as if some teams aren't stupid. The Browns gave Deshaun Watson a lot of money and traded a lot of picks for that guy, and that guy's a predator. So, now, not every team's Cleveland, mind you, but teams want receivers. Teams need receivers. You can see teams, think about it this way. I'm pretty sure the Commanders, who just paid Terry McLaurin and need to redo a lot of their defense, pretty sure Deebo Samuel's in the last year of his deal. I think I'm right there. Jaden Daniels, Brandon Aiyuk, 4th-round draft pick. Wouldn't that sound nice? If you're Washington, I'm sure for San Francisco it sounds nice. But if they were fickle on not trading him for a 2nd-round draft pick 2 years ago, why would they feel good about trading him away for a 4th-round pick now? I don't know. Filthy Casual asks here, wasn't BA's spouse putting on social media after the Super Bowl that Aiyuk was leaving San Francisco? Yes, she did. Now, so did I think his brother or one of his closest friends did that too. I don't know how serious that was. Clearly he re-signed. Wide receivers and Instagram and social media go hand in hand in their way they go about their tactics and their negotiations. But I think that, and I love Brandon Aiyuk. I want Brandon Aiyuk to come back and be healthy and be awesome for the San Francisco 49ers. Don't get it twisted here. I love BA. BA is a darn good football player when healthy. He looked like a legitimate number 1 guy after 2023. And the injury sucked because you can tell when he came back, it was a mindset thing. He was trying to get his body back into the fray, then one bad hit against the Chiefs ruined the entire thing.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
And I want B.A. back. That dude was special in 2022 and 2023. He's second-team All-Pro. We had an All-Pro receiver in like a decade, 20 years since Terrell Owens. I want one of those guys. Or I guess Deebo Samuel, but still. An actual true wide receiver, a pure one, since Terrell Owens. It just sucks because the ceiling was so high, and I don't know how high the ceiling is anymore. And if San Francisco is indeed wanting to trade him, which it seems like they are, I don't know if they can. I don't know if a team will even pay the asking price. Like, theoretically, let's think about this. Not what a team give San Francisco, what would their asking price be? Because they're probably going to want more than they gave Deebo Samuel away for. Deebo had to redo his contract with the Commanders to help make that thing work for them. Deebo coming off a bad year. And he was healthy, and I get Aiyuk's not, but Aiyuk is 3 years younger than him, 2 years younger than him. Different skill set. Deebo seemed to be greeting father time at the door. Aiyuk maybe greeting the Grim Reaper of his career at the door. Who knows? But I don't know. I feel like San Francisco is going to ask for a fourth-round draft pick or more. San Francisco has always been really, really picky at trading players away. It took a pick that was just outside of the top 10 to give away to DeForest Buckner, pick number 12, right? They wouldn't even trade Jimmy Garoppolo away for a third-round draft pick because they valued him that much in 2022 and 21. They didn't want to do it. They covet their guys at a high rate, and so I don't see them giving away Brandon Aiyuk for a fourth-round pick. Especially Kyle Shanahan, who vouched for him. Now, maybe Kyle's taken some blame in the room. I think there was a comment earlier in the show about that, if I can find it really fast. Let's see if we can find it here. Here we go. Leon Sandcastle. He says, I think Kyle got a lot of internal blame for vetoing the BA trade that was nearly finalized. I don't think Kyle had the same authority in this last draft. Maybe not. It seemed like Saleh had a lot of that. But I do wonder if, say San Francisco is broached by some team saying, hey, we'll give you a fifth-round pick for Aiyuk, and maybe it's a conditional fourth. I don't know. That seems like it'd be something San Francisco would do. And look, an opposing team would be best to give San Francisco a conditional pick, knowing that if they're getting an elite receiver once Aiyuk is fully healthy again, you're getting it for a fourth-round draft pick, who cares? However, this draft class, unlike Mac Jones, where quarterback is not very thin, or not very thick, it's not very deep, this receiver class may have 6 guys go in the first round again. That's how crazy it is. And you can name 2 guys from Ohio State. You can go to Bama, and you're like, oh my God, there's 5 guys right there. And so it's I don't think San Francisco is going to be able to trade Brandon Aiyuk unless he returns this year. If he returns this year, everything's on the table. If he returns this season, I almost guarantee you he'll be gone. And I hate saying that because I don't want to trade BA. I want him to come back healthy and be awesome. I would love to have an elite receiver in San Francisco, but it feels like that's where the trail ends. If you got hurt, we don't want your deal. We don't like your attitude. At least someone in the front office, get out. That's just how things are in the NFL. They're cutthroat. Aiyuk pissed off somebody, if not a lot of people in that room, and now we're here, and it seems like that he's going to go. However, there is a wrinkle to this, and it's, again, via Tim Kawakami, which shouldn't be shouldn't be news to anybody, but the Niners could lose Juwan Jennings also. Thus, meaning you lose 2 of your top 3 wide receivers in the room, and you're retaining guys like Pearsall, who is really good, and I think has unfairly been called injury-prone, but still, he's had his problems staying healthy. Demarcus Robinson, who I think will play better down the stretch, but hasn't hit his stride yet. Not a great signing thus far. You got Jacob Cowing. You got Jordan Watkins. And you don't bring back Sky Moore for cheap? Maybe. Okay. Why not? And that's kind of it. Like, you want to re-sign Kendrick Bourne again? I don't know. And maybe the Pearsall injury comes into play with Aiyuk. I don't think it should, but I don't know. Like, I just know for a fact Kyle envisioned having a roster, an offense that had two guys that can separate and beat man coverage and beat soft zone coverage consistently with Aiyuk and Pearsall. And in back-to-back seasons, that's been taken away from him, right? Last year, Pearsall gets hurt the first 7 games in the season. Once he comes back, then Aiyuk gets out and gets hurt. Now Aiyuk's hurt and Pearsall misses a handful of games this year. Now he's back and Aiyuk's still out. Like, it sucks to see we're not going to ever see a version of the San Francisco 49ers offense that has Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Aiyuk fully healthy playing at 100%. It's probably not going to happen. And that offense is probably damn good. And we're never going to see it. Now, that may give Kyle more reason to, or maybe the front office itself, more reason to trade away Brandon Aiyuk. Can you take that money off your books and funnel it elsewhere? Whether it's getting a 4th-round draft pick or a 5th-round pick for him and getting more offensive linemen, getting a cornerback, getting a safety, getting some more defensive linemen. Who couldn't use an edge rusher right now, right? Even Robert Beal's hurt. So, my God, they're all banged up. Like, I don't think fans they'll be upset. They'll be a letdown because it's like, oh man, like what could have been, and there's been too much of that in San Francisco recently. And I think, but if you can turn a 5th-round draft pick into a valuable depth guy for 4 or 5 years, and then whatever, you win. And if and if BA never returns to his full form, which may happen, then he's kind of a lost cause. Again, I just hate saying that, but it's the truth. And so, I mean, I would not be shocked, and fans are going to hate this, and I hate this too. I would not be shocked if Kyle took another receiver in the 1st round. I would not be shocked at all. Like, I think Jordan Watkins has more to offer. I think, Pearsall, when healthy, can be really good, but let's say San Francisco is picking at like 22 or 24 and Carnell Tate's there. How do you say no? You know what I mean? Now, it depends on who else is on the board, but like, I really would not be shocked. I don't think, they're not going tackle. Trent's coming back. McKivitz is coming back next year to sign a new contract during the season. Receiver or defensive line, that's kind of where you're looking at. Now, you love to have a tackle that would be behind Trent and, kind of learn from him, but they've never done that. They just don't do that. Joe Staley retires. Get Trent. They didn't, Jake Brendel might be the guy who learned under Alex Mack for a year, but, is that really a thing? They don't really do that. They haven't really done that, which is weird. I would do it. I would draft an offensive lineman tackle in the 1st round, a guard in the 2nd, a guard in the 3rd. Go crazy or go get a center, but that's not how they do things. I think a wide receiver might be in place. I don't like that, but just don't shoot me if that happens, because we're calling it now. That's probably going to be on the table for them. Let's see. Lori Matthews asks here, and it's a great question once again. Lori's one of the best. She asked, is there a maximum amount of time he has to get back on the field? Is there some sort of injury clause in his contract? There is no time restraint for Aiyuk to return. He can return at any point during the season, I believe. The only time there is a restraint on when he can return is once they open the 21-day window. If he's not activated by the end of that, then he's done for the season. But until then, he can wait the entire year to come back. I think Aiyuk could actually return during the playoffs. They changed the IR rules, I think last year or 2 years ago. I think Aiyuk could make his debut in the playoffs, I think. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure he can make his return in the playoffs if that is the case. But no restraints, it can come back whenever, but you're not going to re-debut Brandon Aiyuk in the playoffs. Had he played during the year, then came back, like Fred Warner, for example, if Niners make a run, maybe he comes back, but, the odds are no. We have a question here by Strawberry asking, wait, just realized it's Wednesday. They didn't practice today since the game's on Monday? It's true. Niners don't practice on Tuesday, Wednesday. They return Thursday, Friday, and they practice on Saturday for, I think, their walkthrough. So I think it's Kyle talking tomorrow, Saleh and Kubiak on Friday, then Kyle again on Saturday. You're not going to get the injury report of who's in, who's out until Saturday early in the morning. So stay tuned for that as the week goes on. That said, I do want to get to the smallest portion of today's show. Well, actually here, Lori asks on the end of her question, is there an injury clause in the contract somewhere? I think I have it here on over the cap. If I can read this right, this says another $31 million in injury guarantees vests on April 1st of this year, courtesy of Pro Football Talk. So I think that's already passed. However, San Francisco, like Nick Bosa's deal, usually has some sort of injury clause worked into that. So I don't know what the exact money is, but I'm sure at some point, whether it's $8 million or $10 million, they can probably save something with Aiyuk if he doesn't come back this year, which they will 100% use. I just don't know what that'll be, or if it doesn't come into place because of the injury guarantee that vested on April 1st of this season. So not sure exactly, but they have one for Bosa, they have one for Warner, they have one for Purdy. I'm sure they have one for Aiyuk as well. So that's my assumption at least, though. Okay, let's talk about the biggest news of the day. San Francisco has a new kicker, and it's not just any kicker. It's the guy who Jake Moody beat out in Washington for the job. Holy hell. Holy hell. Okay. Let's talk about the Niners' new kicker, Matt Gay, who will be playing this Monday and replacing Eddy Pineiro, who has a hamstring strain. He's not going to play. That said, who is Matt Gay? Well, I'll tell you, since 2023, Matt Gay is 77 for 97 on field goals, which is just under 80%. It's not very good, but there's context as to why, and I'll explain more in a second. However, he is 90 for 91 on extra points, a 98.9%. His longest field goal since 2023 is a 57-yarder, and he has missed 3 of his last 7 field goal attempts. So he's had some struggles, he has some flaws. Why did San Francisco bring him in? And I'll tell you why. Because he's terrible beyond 50 yards. He is 15 for 31 in the regular season and the postseason on kicks from 50-plus yards out. It's terrible. It's 48%. However, on kicks 50 yards and in, if I can do some quick math for you here, he is, let's see, this is hard, 30, 43, 53, 52, 62. 62 for, what is that? 62 for 30, 45, 56. It looks like he is 62 for like 65, 66. It's pretty good on field goals inside 50 yards. Now you can again ask Sterling, why that guy? Why that guy? Because Brock Purdy's back. That's why. The odds are San Francisco's not going to have to be attempting kicks from 50-plus yards, knowing Brock Purdy's back. You're going to have kicks likely inside the 30-yard line, 40-yard line more often than not. And it is no knock on Mac Jones, just that there was some long kicks involved in some of the wins and games he's had this year, whereas Brock Purdy will probably be able to get the offense into more easier scoring range, if you will. And I think Matt Gay, he's not great. There's a reason why he's available. they brought in four other guys, but I think, for a few weeks, a guy who can make kicks rather consistently inside 50 yards, that's kind of what you want. Now, if you're Kyle, maybe you are less aggressive on long kicks, and you kind of forego some drives, or you go for it on fourth down more often, but now that you have Brock Purdy back, that gives you a luxury. So, Anders Carlson had the leg to go beyond 50 yards, but wasn't accurate inside 50 yards. I think San Francisco realizes that, you know what, we're probably going to have kicks inside the 40 more often than not. So, Anders has the leg, doesn't have the accuracy. Matt Gay doesn't have the leg, but inside 50 yards is one of the more accurate kickers in football. Now, he missed a game-winning kick for Washington last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. So he's had problems. But it's a kicker. Now, I'm not going to make light of that, knowing Moody was terrible and Pineiro has been great. Now, we'll see with Matt Gay, but I think you're playing the Panthers and the Browns. If those games come down to game-winning field goals, something else went terribly wrong for you. So I think that's kind of my takeaway from that, of if Matt Gay is a reason you're winning and losing football games, that's a problem, especially with how good your offense can be. Now, I don't know what the kickoffs look like. I don't know what the special teams coverage looks like and his kicks in the landing zone. I have no idea what that looks like. Maybe there's some chart somewhere. I don't have it. But in regards to field goals, which right now is the most important thing for San Francisco in scoring points, been pretty good inside 50, so that to me is what matters most. Can you make a kick from 38 yards away, from 44 yards away? Matt Gay has been pretty good at doing that. Now, Jake Moody beat him out. And if you're a Niner fan, you're like, oh my God, how bad is this dude?
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Yeah, I don't have any way to defend that by any means, but not ideal. Now, Moody has been better since he left San Francisco, but still, whenever you see that, which Deebo Samuel and Jake Moody being on the same team again is crazy. But I think San Francisco could hopefully score some more points, and field goals inside the 50 shouldn't be a problem, and you're probably going to have the football more towards a 40-yard field goal than a 50-yard field goal with Brock Purdy playing quarterback against some middling defenses at best. Panthers aren't great. The Browns are really good. Myles Garrett scares me and haunts me in my dreams, but still. Let's get to some more questions in the YouTube chat. Kawachipto says, a guy who is consistent within 50 for a few weeks. Right. It's like, what do you do? Now, I do think that Pineiro's injury might be longer than we think. Could be 1 week. I think it'll be after the bye week, so he's probably going to be out for 2 games. He'll come back after the bye week. That'll make it kind of a 3.5 to 4 week injury. I think that'll be the case. So I wouldn't expect to see Pineiro back until after the bye week, which it's 2 games away. And hopefully you can beat the Panthers and the Browns. And again, if games are being decided by Matt Gay, then there's a problem, a big problem. Purdy ain't playing good there and whatnot, which I hope Joseph Ehrenberg is still in the comments, because he was hoping for the downfall of Brock Purdy, and he didn't get that on Sunday. And I want to go back to his comment, the very first one he made, I believe, in the chat today. Besides screaming my name, he said, Brock played really good on Sunday. Joseph, let's give it up, folks. The biggest Brock Purdy hater in the entire world has now praised San Francisco's $53 million man. It's nice, Joseph. How's it feel to have the quarterback back? Pretty good, huh? Now he has to continue that, but I think we're all riding pretty high after that Cardinals game because Brock Purdy looked really, really, really good. Bobo says here, Mike McDaniel will be back next season. I hate to break it to you. Dolphins have won like 2 of their last 3 games, 3 of the last 4 games. He's not leaving. I don't think he's the problem. I think they're going to keep him. The owners already said they're going to keep him, so I don't think Mikey McD's coming back next offseason. I think he's going to stay in Miami for at least one more year, and they'll fire him after 2026. But no. We have a super chat by Cam's dad. Cam's dad, thank you so much. What a great way to end the show. More playoff talk with Cam's dad. $2. Thank you so much for the $2. It'll be well spent on my wife. And so whatever spent on her, it's Christmas time. Get her a gift or so. We're in the midst of holiday shopping, so your $2 goes a long way. Long way. You have no idea. That's a quarter of one Starbucks drink, which she'll undoubtedly love probably on Friday. But Cam's dad, thank you so much for the $2 in the super chat. They ask here, do you want to face Seattle or the Rams in the first round of the playoffs? I would rather play the Seahawks in Seattle. Their defense is better. Maybe I'm foolish of this, but I think the odds that Darnold turns into a pumpkin and sees some ghosts are pretty high. I think the Seahawks lead the NFL in turnovers this year and giveaways. While the Niners don't really get takeaways and giveaways and turnovers, that to me bodes well for them. And I think their defense being good obviously scares me. They're playing great football out there in Seattle. I just don't trust Sam Darnold, and I think it's like, would you rather play the better defense with a quarterback that could kind of muck things up, or a average defense that's playing better football recently with the MVP right now? I'd rather play Sam Darnold and company out there in Seattle. San Francisco's already won then. I think San Francisco matches up better against Seattle than we think they do. Look, when you play teams week 1 and week 18, there's a long way in between those games. Like, I think San Francisco may score more points against the Rams defense. I just don't think they can stop Matthew Stafford. That's my real concern. I think they can slow down Sam Darnold. I really do. I really, really, really do. He'll make a mistake or two, and if they can capitalize, fingers crossed. I'd rather play the Seahawks in the wild card round, if you will. However, I don't know, the Rams just lost Quentin Lake and Tyler Higbee, and they lost Rob Havenstein, the right tackle. They got 3 guys, 3 starters on IR. I know Ferguson's playing good at tight end. The Rams are getting a little banged up right now. It's going to be a fun way to end the year. Really fun way to end the year. I think the Rams and Seahawks play again, too. So, who does that tiebreaker go to? That game was close. The Rams could have easily lost that game. Week 18 could actually matter this year, which is crazy. I believe Week 17 is probably more important for San Francisco, but wouldn't it be something to beat the Seahawks in Week 18 and maybe knock them out of the playoffs? That's possible. It's a long road till then, but it's possible. But I'd much rather play against the Seahawks, I think, on the road at Lumen Field in front of the 12s. Here we go. Another $2. Oh my gosh. Cam's dad. $4 at Starbucks. My wife, you are just a funnel of money, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much again. Here we go. He asks, you want to win Week 18 or lose vibes-wise? Well, you always want to win. I don't think San Francisco can afford to lose games. Now, there is some credence to them playing better after a loss, being motivated, and if you're playing Seattle twice in back-to-back weeks, maybe you don't mind losing that one, but I think you'd rather win no matter what. I just think that, you want to end your year on a high note, thinking you can beat somebody, give that young defense some confidence, because it's really back and forth right now, and I think you'd rather win. And you're wearing the Nike jerseys, the rivalry ones. You want to beat the Seahawks in those jerseys. That game could mean nothing for Seattle. It can mean everything for Seattle. It can mean nothing for San Francisco. It can mean everything for San Francisco. But, my hope is that Mac Jones plays that game. That's the hope. And it's like Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne and Jordan Watkins and all the guys that don't matter play that game. Unfortunately for San Francisco, they don't have the defensive bodies to do that. So I think that you want to win every game. You're not playing to lose. You're not throwing games for seeding. So I just know right now, if the season ended, San Francisco's playing the Rams in round 1. I don't love that. Papa J asks here, Sterling, have they said how Eddy P injured himself? I don't know exactly, but my assumption was after the blocked field goal kick, he made the tackle or tried to and kind of got bodied up by a Cardinal player and seemed slow to get up. That's my assumption. And that kind of seemed to be what happened, but I'm not sure. All I know is Eddy P will be missed for at least the next 2 weeks. Hopefully not much longer after that. But San Francisco 7-4. Stay tuned tomorrow. We are going to preview Niners versus Panthers right here on the channel. You are not going to want to miss that. It's a big game for both teams' wild card chances. San Francisco, it's a must-win game. The Panthers, it's a must-win game as well on Monday Night Football, primetime, Levi Stadium. Under the lights, can San Francisco make it 2 wins in a row? We shall see. Come back for that one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on the audio podcasting platforms. Leave us that 5-star review. You can follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter, and 49ers.access is the Instagram. And don't forget to use our promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com. Save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Brock Purdy's back. Ricky Pearsall's back. If you want to help San Francisco pay for Brandon Aiyuk's contract, get yourself some tickets and help BA stay in San Francisco past 2025 by using that promo code and enjoying yourself some live Niners football in 2025. As always, my name is Sterling Bennett. Thank you to every single one of you in the chat. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday hump day night. And until next time, though. Stay faithful.